All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Filmmaker Q&A for Shorts Block 3. I would like to welcome Maria Moreno, the animator and mistress of all things evil and cute in The Evil Little Thing.
Aw.
Tristan Risk, who is the director, and did you also write Reptile House?
I did.
So writer and director of Reptile House. David Abusafi, who was the producer on Reptile House, and I'm sure you probably wore other hats as well. Jack, who wrote and directed Camper, Haunted Tent, and Mark G. Parker from Family History. Sorry.
Family History, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Family History. How are you guys all doing? Thank you so much for joining us. This is really exciting for us. One of the things that makes a festival is being able to talk to all the filmmakers who've made these amazing films. So this is great for us. So we hope it's great for you. And we hope that if you're watching, audience, if you're watching, ask questions of the filmmakers in the Discord. It's bit.ly/PHFF Discord. But yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat in there. And if we've got questions, type them out. I'll be reading them. I'm just going to start off with Maria. Your film was done as a senior project. Can you tell us how you decided to do the animation and where the story came from?
Sure. So I had this I had this idea for a black goat character for a long time, and for a while he was originally supposed to be the witch's assistant and stuff, but because I gave him the elements of being a misfortune demon, I wasn't really satisfied with that original story. But I did work along with this character for quite a while, through storyboarding class, sometimes through my animation and my personal sketches and doodles. And I remember the one day I saw the movie The Witch, which featured the black goated character. I liked the movie, but I was so disappointed because I really just wanted to see more of that black goat character. And I was like, why? He should have more of the spotlight. For God's sake, they market this character so many times. So I was like, basically, screw this. I'm gonna do something about it and stuff. So basically, and funny story, the Evil Little Thing wasn't really my first film that I was going to do for my senior film. It was I was originally gonna do a music video, but then I kind of got some ideas of doing kind of a 1950s storyline with the Evil Little Thing. I started basically fine-tuned the story of this goat named Nemo and just everything behind the scenes and stuff. I just had so much fun working on this story, so I started making this film as my little film before I leave school forever and stuff. And I did it, and here we are.
Well done. I know sometimes in film school you work with other people. Was this a solo project for you, or were there other seniors or graduating students involved in it?
Well, originally it was gonna be a solo thing, but it was kind of like the first time where I was like, okay, you can't be 100% independent. You really need some help and stuff because animation takes a long time. So I basically gathered up my friends. They happily wanted to help me out with coloring the animation and even doing some shading, and some did the backgrounds. I asked one of my friends, Bruce Proel, if he could voice act one of the characters, Jack, and the radio guy from the beginning of the short to the end of the short. And then I asked the musician Willwood if I could use his music for the credits song and stuff, because I really thought Memento Mori really fit in with the theme of that story. And I asked like Randy Greer if he can make the music and composition, because I have no idea how to do any of that music stuff. So I was like, you do you. Thank you so much.
I feel like that sums up independent filmmaking to kind of to a T. Is that you grab all the people who have talents that are different from yours, and just kind of rope them into helping you make your art.
Yeah, I'm just really grateful that I had the help, and I had people who wanted to like who were just as passionate as me to have me have to help me make this film become a thing. And also I forgot to mention like my one other friend too, for illustrating part of the secret ending with the flashes and everything. I like her art, mwah. So
Excellent. I'm gonna jump over to Tristan because there's a question for her in Discord, which I will get to. But first, I want to ask because I we've shown films before at Portland Horror that you have acted in, and I'm curious about the change from acting to directing. Is acting something you're still doing, and is directing something you're going to be doing more of?
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm so happy that you guys have screened films that I've been part of at the festival before. That's really awesome. And yeah, it's really nice to be able to come as a writer director this time and show what goes on inside of my weird little head. Um, so, Reptile House is the second film that I've written and directed. The first one was Parlor Tricks, and that was, I had no idea what I was doing. I generally don't have a lot of idea of what I'm doing at any given time. I just have ideas and notions, and like you say, roping people into doing stuff with me seems to be like my weird low-key magic talent, that it's just like, this is the one you get. It's like, really? I can't just fly? I okay, all right, this one's cool. So when I did Parlor Tricks, I kind of like did it and was like, oh, and it's on YouTube, blah blah blah. It didn't really do like a huge festival run. And this time I was smart and I partnered with someone like David, who brings so much to it in terms of just like giving help and being one of the people who is like not only roped in but like does a lot of other heavy lifting on set and after the fact too. So it got way more out there than I expected, which has given me the confidence to say, right, if I can direct these two films, maybe I should look at doing this as a feature film. So I'm rolling in the direction of doing Reptile House as a feature now. That I have that confidence. So I really like being behind the camera. I'm good at being pushy and telling people what to do and where to stand and make this face, and don't pet the bitey end. And yeah, it's kind of, I feel like I can probably transition comfortably to that role.
So the question for you was from Sean Marrier, and he asked, who created the reptile woman makeup, and how long did that take to apply?
Gideon Hay. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, that was Gideon Hay, and he did an incredible job. And we also had we had Elena, who was on set for the application day of. So what the mask was it's a one-piece rubber mask that pulls on over top, that was made from a cast of my head that Gideon did the sculpt for, and then Elena came out on the day and did the neck, because it looks so beautiful. Every time I think I see some wrinkles in my neck, I'm like, it doesn't look like the reptile woman, so I'm still good. It hasn't. Yeah, yeah. I haven't gone full iguana neck yet, so I think I'm okay. David, anything to add to that?
No, just that we are developing Reptile House as a feature, and it's going to be released by Arrow, so it's very much in development, and the short has a release life as well. So it's a going concern. We're getting some funding together.
Nice.
Excellent. Excellent. That's so exciting.
Yeah, we're going to send Zilla around to shake some people down for some money.
Okay.
Or you have the monitor lizard or the bigger reptiles. He's a small reptile.
Yeah. Well, you get Zilla
He's
first,
not-
and if that doesn't work, we send
He's
Jub
not
Jub
too
in.
intimidating. He's probably
You'll
pretty sleepy right now.
kill them with cuteness.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a cute guy, quiet guy.
Excellent. I'm gonna bounce back to Maria because there was a question about the goat bounce effect. And Edward Martin said he loves the goat bounce effect. And was that something that you created? And congratulations on nailing it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I said ghost. Wow. The goat bounce effect. It was just all like 2D animation, just the basics of like just the basics from what I learned from the ball bounce, and I just I just kind of had like this stupid idea of like, this guy is just running for his life and he's in terror and all that stuff, and then like Nemo's just taking his sweet time, just like bouncing along, and every time he bounces he just squeaks and stuff. I
Yeah.
just kind of like wanted to make that part funny.
So the squeak noise when he's bouncing, where did that come from? How did you find that particular sound?
Oh, it's just from a dog squeaky toy noise that like that inspiration is thanks to like one of my dogs, because every time I squeeze it, so she just becomes manic and stuff, and I like it just kind of helped me be like, wait a minute. So I just kind of added that in for the bounce effect.
Very nice. I'm gonna move down to Jack. And your film was so nice and tidy and simple. We loved it. Tell us a little about where that idea came from and how you managed to film that. Was it just you? Were you under quarantine? Like, what were the conditions under which you made that?
Yeah, this film is made on the COVID period last year, and last year in Thailand we have like a riot, a protest against the Thai government, and I saw in the news that the protesters, they have they camping in the royal field, and I think the tent is look good to make the horror film with it. And I look around my house and I have one, so I pick it up and I write the script for my tent. And it's quite a hard time last year because I don't have any work and any income, so but I just want to make a film, and I start to do it just thinking and focusing like just about myself, just one character, just that. And I'm gonna do this just only me and my girlfriend, and then I start to do it in my house. It's just that it's just a little idea that I think in my head, and I think about what is gonna be if we meet a ghost in the tent, but the tent is not in the wood. Because if you see some ghost element in the tent, it might be in the wood, in the camping, real camping, right? But I don't have any effort to shoot in the wood, in the real wood. So I consider, I just make it in the house, just write some situation that you're gonna check the tent and you found something inside, just that. Little easy idea.
It was very creepy.
Thank you.
The first time we see the ghost, we were like, whoa, not expecting that. So it's really effective. Your timing and your beats are really nice. Really enjoyed that. Edward Martin said, I just wanted to make a film. It's damn near like casting a magic spell. So excellent. Good on you for following through with it. So the person on the phone, is that a friend that you had just call to do the voiceover?
Yeah, I use the voiceover. It just make they just two crews, just me and my girlfriend, just that, and we play every part in the film.
Yeah. Was she also the ghost then?
Yes, she also the ghost and the friend and the girlfriend.
Excellent,
that.
excellent. So what's is this the first film that you've made in this kind of way? Like, have you made other films that are more complex?
Oh yeah, this is my, I'm not sure, maybe my seventh short film of me. I always do the horror stuff all the time. I talk to myself, I commitment myself that, oh, I gonna make a horror short film every year. Last year is COVID, and I wanted to make just one. It's okay, and I start with this, and you mean it's not complex, right? The situation is just use one location. Mostly I always make a film like this, just a little how to say, a regular situation, but I just put the ghost inside.
Very nice. Mark, your film, A Family Affair, was ended up quite differently from how it began. And when you watch it again, you can kind of see some of the things. Did the whole cast know the whole story from the beginning, or did you kind of reveal it as you went along?
That's a great question. Yep, everyone knew. I even for the mom character when I was casting, I had the actresses do the scene at the very end of the film as their audition. I just didn't, show what happened to the mom at the end there. But yeah, so everyone knew from the get go. As soon as I had my cast, I sent them the full script, and yeah, I think everyone was sort of everyone really enjoyed the whole kind of reveal at the end of how that's the backstory, but some people were also confused. So it was the kind of thing where on paper, it's interesting, but then you really get it seeing the final, cut. That's when the cast and crew was like, oh, wow, yeah, now it all makes total sense. Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like I kind of got what was happening before the post credits or the mid credits or sequence. So
Totally.
it's
Yeah.
interesting where people's experience maybe is a help
Yeah.
or hindrance to the decoding of all of that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something I really love with horror. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna just say that that's something I really love with horror and thrillers, especially is playing with expectations, and just hearing, yeah, like when did you start knowing like it was taking that turn, because yeah, it's different for everyone, not even just with this short, but just with other films. I that's like the best part is like when did you start knowing who was the killer, or did you know that backstory was going to pop up, so I wanted to really kind of inject that into this as much as possible.
And I would just like to talk about the queer aspect of the characters in this one. We don't often see gay characters that are acting upon each other, which I thought was interesting too. That to begin with, it didn't necessarily seem like their sexuality was played that big of a part in their roles. But then as we see the reveal at the end, we kind of get that was the genesis, at least for the main character bringing home these guys, basically to sacrifice. So how did you approach that part of it? Was it just something, did you think a lot about it, or is it just something that came out of your just natural storytelling desire?
Kind of both, I feel like it was sort of effortless, but then at the same time, parts of it definitely I was thinking a lot about. But my producer and friend of mine, Tom, who we shot at his awesome condo on the lake there, we knew from the get-go, like these characters, we have to somehow do something with queer characters, which is something I like to do anyway with horror, because luckily now we're seeing more queer characters in horrors and thrillers. But for a while, if we did, they were like the sidekick that would get killed, that like was very over the top, just to sort of aid our hero or heroine like into their journey. We don't really care much about them, right? So I knew that the leads needed to be LGBTQ, and from the get-go I knew I wanted to do some sort of kind of Lady of the Lake modern story. And so I don't know how I came up with such a dark twist, but I just knew like, okay, what about if being gay causes this terrible cycle tradition for this family? And it's obviously who this guy is. Absolutely nothing wrong with it, of course. But mom's reaction and dad's, they're a more conservative family, and mom's kind of violent, she hits him. She like hits his shoulder, saying, no, 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 like stop, that's not funny. And then that just sparks this rage in him that maybe he got from mom, for her to react that way. And then he reacts that way. And he's just being honest and being himself, and being himself is so revolting to her that then he does something that's revolting. So yeah, I just thought like, what's a great kind of twist that's just so dark and heavy and depressing, but the queer story can be depressing. Obviously we've known for years that a lot of parents disown queer kids. So I think that was in the back of my mind, and I thought, how can I spin this into kind of this dark, horrific, like fairy tale ghost story of how disowning your child will hurt you in the end. It's this weird, you're not sure who to root for because he did something bad, but she's a bad mom, and everyone's doing something bad. So yeah.
It's interesting, the cycle.
Yeah.
And then you mentioning that the mom being like literally a toxic influence in his life, then that gets carried out in a cycle that is a never-ending thing. And I have to say that the moment when you're looking out the window and you see her getting up onto the dock, I was like, what is happening? Like, isn't the mom dead? And
then I love that.
The hands come up over the rail behind his boyfriend.
Behind the boyfriend, yeah.
Very, very well done.
Thank
very
you.
Very shocking. That was not expecting that, and we were like, whoa! And it almost has it has kind of a Lovecraftian taint. So full disclosure, I'm also the director of Brian and I also direct the HP Lovecraft Film Festival. So cosmic horror and these kinds of themes are very close to the top of our consciousness all the time.
Oh, that's
amazing. But there is that theme, that kind of thread throughout cosmic horror and Lovecraft's work of the family line being somehow tainted. Just an interesting tie-in.
Yeah, definitely. That might have been in the back of my mind as well. And it's funny because I got this idea a while ago before Get Out came out, and I'm sure everyone here has seen Get Out, but we know the twist is the daughter's in on it, so when I saw that on the big screen, I was like, oh crap, that's like my story, So for a little bit there, I was like, all right, I'll change it, because basically what you see in the short is kind of like the middle of a feature film idea. So we do in my, someday when I have money, in a feature film, the beginning, the first act would be son and dad are realizing, whoa, mom's back. Oh my God, boyfriend's dead. Like the start of this cycle, But yeah, so lots of little things in the back of my head when making this, and even going back to Psycho with mom and son killing mom, and so yeah.
The unhealthy expectations they hold for each other.
Yes, there you go.
It's very nice. Excellent. Yeah, really chilling. And are you a fan of Japanese horror films? Because the ghost coming out of the lake and the mom's hair is dark and black, and she's
totally
kind of model-y when you see her first.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, with The Ring and some of these iconic things, that was definitely in mind. And I didn't, because our main actor's blonde, so I was open to moms of all looks. I saw some blonde moms, I saw some brunettes, but there was something that was really sad about Catherine, who played our mom. She was so good at being like tough and, you know, a little sharp, but then so sad at times in her eyes and her face that I was like, oh, I really like that, because maybe there's some regret. You know, this, you know, when she looks at him and she comes back every year, she's also feeling all sorts of things. But yeah, so it was kind of a happy accident that we got a brunette with the dark, wet hair, and I thought, oh my God, perfect, here we go, you know.
Very nice. And like just the way he says, "Please sit over there," and you're like, "Oh, well, that must have been mom's chair," but then no, it's so that she can
Yep.
consume him in some way. And is that
Yep.
something that you're going to explore in your feature? Is the like how he just disappeared? Like, what's up with that?
Right. Yep. Totally. Yeah. I haven't thought as much about where they go, but it basically mom has, in her magic, mysterious, twisted way, she eats these men, you know? So I don't think it's going to be literal whenever we make it, if we ever make it, you know? That'd be pretty sick and pretty awesome if all of a sudden mom's just like Freddy Krueger head from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, just like eating Patricia Arquette's legs. That'd be pretty amazing. But I didn't even picture it like that, you know, like she's figuratively eating them. They disappear. She's taking them, much like Sun took her life. She punishes him by taking the life of some of these people he cares about, but some people he's just bringing anyone home, you know, from a dating app or at the bar, you know, like, okay, as long as they don't really have much of a family themselves, you know, or, you know, a big network of friends that might not, you know, go looking for him right away, he's good, you know? So yeah, definitely looking more into that whole, all the little details that, you know, obviously there's no time for in a short, would definitely be spelled out more in a feature, hopefully one day.
And just checking all of the chat, various things, to see if anyone else has any other questions. But it's very quiet. Do you guys have questions for each other? I always like it when filmmakers ask each other questions, because you guys have different insights than the directors of the festival or the audience who's watching the film. It's okay if you don't, but I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I guess I'll ask this, and this question goes to everyone in here, including you, Gwen. What started your love for horror? What was the one horror movie that you can remember that started your love for horror movies?
That's a hard question. I'm gonna go first and give you guys all time to think of an answer or think about it, because that's rough. Like my growing up, my family loved film, cinema, art house films, everything. And I never really thought of my parents as horror fans, but my dad is now on our jury and he helps us judge films. And he does actually like horror films. And like thinking about it, growing up, you know, I was watching things like I watched Blue Velvet with them for the first time, which is not at all awkward to watch with your parents, right? And that's, you know, that skirts the edge of like surreal horror, you know, thriller kind of thing. But I don't know, they rather watch me watch things like that with them, so that if I had questions about anything, I could just ask them. So they were always really open about that. So I think it was never, I know some people have a thing where their parents hated horror, there was a stigma around it, but for me growing up, it wasn't really a negative thing. And as a kid, I found Edgar Allan Poe really early on. I think I missed a whole class when I was in elementary school because I stayed in the library during lunch hour reading the Fall of the House of Usher. I looked up and the librarian was like, "Aren't you supposed to be in your class like an hour ago?" I was like, yeah, I guess so. But then, you know, discovering things like Creepshow and Tales from the Crypt, like the comics and things like that, I think sparked that, ooh, this is spooky and it's something I shouldn't be reading, and it was exciting. So I think that's how I came to horror. And like the first real horror film I can remember watching and being like physically changed by was Amityville the Horror. Like it had such an effect on me that like I felt like something in my body had changed after watching it.
Cool. I uh well, mine is interesting because like uh so imagine 8-year-old me, and there's like my uncle, he used to love like watching like a bunch of horror movies and stuff, but you know, it's 8-year-old me and I didn't know what was going on. The first movie that he introduced to me was, and this is something you shouldn't show to your children, I mean, whatever, is like The Hills Have Eyes. And I've been told that's an intense movie to show your child at that age. But what was interesting was like I was never afraid of it, but I knew I wanted to see more of stuff like that. Interesting enough, and like none of the movies that I ever came across, like, you know, like something like Child's Play, Freddy Krueger, Jason, all these movies that I ever came across, they never really scared me. But what really scared this, I don't know, am I allowed to curse in this
Sure.
Q&A? What really scared the shit out of me was Killer Clowns from Outer Space out of all the fucking movies. And unfortunately, it was that one that really brought back, like, that really brought in, like, that clown phobia and stuff like that. And like along the way, you know, I mean, you're looking at my room right now, like you're seeing like a bunch of like pink and like stuff like ponies and all that stuff. I watch all that and stuff, but on my spare time, like I would read like Goosebumps, I would watch some other horror films, and I would uh like I always had like the best of both worlds. And for a while, I guess like during my community college, I revisited like Killer Clowns from Outer Space again, just to see what was the big deal out of it. And after the movie, I was disappointed at myself, because I was like, this is the movie that did it for you, really? But but I grew an appreciation for it, and then from there I started watching more 80s B horror movies, and I just kind of started loving, like, that just became my absolute favorite genre and stuff. My mom supports me with my horror movies. My grandma doesn't understand them. She avoids it, but she just gives a thumbs up from the distance. But overall, like I'm Gucci with like the best of both worlds, having like both horror and cute uh in my world.
How about Tristan? Do you remember like the first horror movie you saw that grabbed you?
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, there's a story with that. So you may or may not know this, but John Landis directed the Michael Jackson Thriller music video. And that music video was where Rick Baker pioneered a bunch of like technology and makeup artistry that we haven't seen before, like the bladder effects. There's like a lot of the changing that happened in that. He went on to use that in American Werewolf in London. And or was it The Howling? It was a werewolf movie that he worked on right afterwards. But regardless, I think I was like maybe 4 or 5 when I first saw that, and my aunt and uncle had it like recorded on a Betamax tape with a bunch of other music videos, and I can remember like looking around the corner and like horrified, but I couldn't look away. And my mom's like, "You were obsessed," and I was like, "What do you mean obsessed?" She's like, "So you don't remember like when you changed and then you bit me on the ankle?" And I was like, no. But apparently the moment where he's turning into the cat creature, he's like, roar, roar. I was doing something similar. And then because I became a cat creature, I bit her on the ankle. I was sorely disappointed to note that I did not have a physical change in my appearance. Clearly the dichotomy between being a person and a weird animal hybrid has not left me since that time, 37 years ago. I'm still really strong in there. So that was my first like horror thing that I knew I was into. And then the next horror film that I saw was, I must have been like 5 or 6, and my mom was a young mom, and she took me to her friend's house because they were having a party. and they'd rented 2 videotapes. One was like my Mickey Mouse cartoons, and one was Watcher in the Woods. And my mom's like, "You know how to work the machine, right?" And I'm like, "Uh-huh." So I like take it down and I put it down, and at some point, like her friend Jackie like come and they look at me, and I'm like against the couch, and it's like 3/4 of the way through Watcher in the Woods, which like it's not like a hardcore horror film, but for like a small child, like that was some pretty intense shit. Like Betty Davis is scary as fuck in that. And to this day, I still have issues looking in mirrors and reflections and things sometimes for fear I'm going to see someone playing eternal blind man's bluff. And yeah, it was a really weird thing that I was like, but somehow, like they're like, "Oh, do you want us to turn this off?" I'm like, "No, I must finish it. I need closure. I need to know how this ends." Like, and that was the moment I'm like, it doesn't matter what horror movie it is, I have to see it to the end because I need fucking closure.
There's actually a question in the chat um, for Mark. There's actually a couple of questions for different people. So Mark, the question is, what was the thinking in the writing of the names in the book in family history?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. So those are in the story. Those are the names of previous people, that mom has taken, and that we didn't explain it too much in the short, and again in the feature it would be explained more. But they keep a list of names in case the cops ever do come around. They know to come up with stories about those people. So yeah, that's just to help them keep track of how many how many men has mom taken, so that they can come up with lies. But the actual names, if anyone noticed, I mean, for many horror fans out there, you probably did. I wanted to have some fun, and so the boyfriend's character's name is Evan, but his last name is Lance. So that was Johnny Depp's last name in Nightmare on Elm Street. So a boyfriend who got killed. We merged I think we did like Jason. It was like Michael Voorhees, or we like, or like Billy whatever from different horror movies, so we just merged names from Halloween and Scream and all sorts of things. So that was kind of fun to just come up with for the actual names. But yeah, so the story goes that's just for the dad and the son, but mostly the dad, to just keep track in case anyone ever comes asking, have you ever seen Evan Lance, for example.
Interesting. I kind of took it as a perverted family Bible, like you write the names in the front of the back cover of the Bible.
Totally, it could be that too as well. It's like their list of trophies as well. Yeah. Originally, I wanted to have them carve like the number like 5, like tally marks like on the table, which would have been so badass. But I didn't want to do that to Tom's table, so I was like, all right, we'll write it down. It'll be fine.
And there was a question for Jack. Are you going to keep making movies like this and then quote these intense, intimate things? No pun intended, but Edward, I think you did intend that pun because I know you. Because you have a knack for it. So, what is next for you in terms of filmmaking with horror movies? Are you going to stick with horror films?
Oh, yeah, me? Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, actually, I just watched a YouTube, and yeah, actually, I answer his question, but I will explain more. That what am I doing right now? I have been developing my feature film, my first feature film, but it's of course it's a horror film. But horror film for me, and I will answer the Maria question also about how you came across with the horror stuff.
Yeah.
In Thailand, the ghost story in Thailand is very connect to people's life. Like for me, the ghost story is kind of my bedtime story that my parents always tell before and go to bed. And the scary thing is another thing, but inside the ghost story is about the memory. It's something that's very nostalgia, that we look back in the past and see what's happened with the people who have gone and what they want, why they become a ghost. something like that. And my first feature film will develop from this idea about the ghost and the memory. Now, because I think it's the same thing, because it happened in the past and it's come back to the present, something like that. Yeah. Does I answer any question? Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
accurate.
Perfect. Perfect. Let's see. We should. I'm gonna have last call for any audience questions for our panelists. I feel like I just saw one. Edward had a question about the jacket in Reptile House. And his question was that has that become a valuable eBay prop, or have you held on to that?
I've got it in my closet here. No, it's valuable. It might, we're hanging on to it for the future perhaps, but it's safe. Yeah, that's the skinned face of the ill-fated sash that gets sewn into the jacket.
Mhm. Just like in real life, he was an ill fit that never really suited me. That's not true. I love Jesse. He's awesome.
Yeah, and you've used the snake head in, you've performed with it a couple times, at least in the Kamloops Film Festival before COVID closed things down.
Yeah, that was actually the first time I ever piloted the reptile woman's face live during a snake dance number. So, like I'm getting my mileage out of those props. You invest in good quality props, and they'll stay with you for a while.
Yeah, put them to use.
Okay, so we didn't actually hear from David, Jack, or Mark about what your first horror movie was.
Oh,
Do you
well, I was
guys
going to
have
talk about. I often get people ask me why I make or produce horror films and kind of give me a hard time about it, and I kind of defend it that if fear is the most powerful human emotion, if there's films or art that help us release fear, then maybe they're potentially the most powerful pieces of art there can be. So rather than being a lesser art, it might actually be a more powerful art. And as a little kid, I probably saw a lot of the Universal horrors as a little kid. But I think I was getting to Cronenberg films at a middle school age and getting weird into body horror and Lovecraft. And I think by the time I was in high school, and Reanimator was my and those mid '80s Lovecraft films From Beyond really got me into it. That's a short answer.
How about you, Jack? Do you remember what was the first horror movie that you saw that kind of really grabbed you?
The first one, actually, I'm not remember because I watched a lot of horror movie, but what is gonna be? Sorry, I cannot remember.
Okay. Well, how about one that stands out to you from
Stand
your
out?
childhood? Yeah.
This one. You see it? Oh, sorry. I mean, a ghost story from the David Lowery.
Oh.
This is kind of the like I said, the ghost story is not scary for me, but I love ghost stuff. I love the story of the afterlife, story of the unfinished business of ghosts, why they come back, why they make themselves appearance. Yeah, I love this one so much because yeah, it's not scary, but it's feels lonely.
But it speaks to you.
Yeah, and it's have the meta physical something because the gods can travel to time. I love it so much. It's amazing. It's a new thing for me about ghosts.
How about you, Mark?
For me, I remember I was Freddy Krueger when I was 6 years old, which my dad and I watched a bunch of movies. He was like, "Oh, it's just a movie, it's fine." So I would say Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, was probably my first real like horror movie experience. Terrifying, amazing, creative, and the neighbors were really unhappy that I was like ringing their doorbell on Halloween as Freddy when everyone else is like a bunny or whatever, and I'm like, you know. So I would say that really got me into horror, and then Scream really made me realize, oh, like I want to do this like for life. Like I want to actually make this, like seeing these people on screen or just like me talking about horror. Like that's when I realized like, oh, I could actually like do this for a living or whatever, you know, like write and direct and create.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for sharing all those stories. We should probably wrap up and let you get on with your lives. And I think our audience, thank you to all the audience members who asked questions. If you guys are, I think I saw most of you in the Discord server chat, but if you'd like to hop on there at any time during the festival, there's text channels set up for each shorts block. So you're welcome to hang out in there and see if people have other questions for you or just say hi and invite people to talk about your films. That's what those are for. And I think the link is at the bottom of the screen right there. It's the bit.ly/PHFF Discord. And I don't think you need to use an account. You just click on the link and like pick a name for yourself and log in and continue the chat there. And I just want to thank you all again, Maria, Tristan, David, Jock, and Mark for being with us tonight and on this virtual Q&A. It's the first virtual Q&A of this festival, so I had to work out my interviewing skills a little bit. So thanks for bearing
You're
with me.
doing an awesome job,
great.
man.
Nice meeting you all.
Yeah.
So, if people want to follow you and learn more about your work or your upcoming projects, where can they find you? Maria, where do they find you?
You can literally find me in Twitter and Instagram with literally this like I call myself Tipsy J Hearts at Tipsy J Hearts on Twitter and Instagram. You can literally find me there. And even like if you want to support my coffee too, it's also Tipsy J Hearts as well.
How about you, Tristan?
You can find me on all my socials as at Little Miss Risk on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and you can always hit up my website at littlemissrisk.ca.
Nice. David, how about you?
Well, Generativity Productions or darksidereleasing.com for films coming out. And our film festival, it's in its 7th year. The Vancouver Badass Film Festival has a script and a shorts and features. You can submit on Film Freeway until September 11th. We're doing our COVID delayed live festival again in October. And we have a script contest. In fact, we're just going to go into production in 2020 script winner that will start filming August 13th. So shorts and feature scripts, shorts and feature films, submit on Film Freeway. Vancouver Badass Film Festival, 7th year.
Awesome.
Badass. It's not just in name only.
Jack, do you have social media where people can follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook with this name, Chakapansi Vichai, and also on Vimeo. I will post my work over there in Vimeo. Yep.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook at MJPPOV. You'll see updates about family history and then my next short that I just finished. And then I also do a podcast called Release Date Rewind, a monthly podcast where I bring on another friend and we reminisce and talk about old movies. And our next episode will be An American Werewolf in London that we mentioned earlier tonight, and The Others with Nicole Kidman. They're going to have some milestone anniversaries in August. So you can check that out once a month.
Excellent. So yeah, we will share those links in the Discord, and I think with that, I will bid you all good night. Filmmakers,
Thank
if you
you.
want to stick around for a second, don't run off just yet. To everyone else,
Thank
good
you,
night.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.